good people? Welcome back to the channel. It's me, Fabulous Bree. If you are new here, definitely hit that subscribe button down below. You don't want to miss any kind of videos that I upload. I do love to upload these type of videos. This is something that I'm just currently into because this is pretty much all that I do is watch TV. So if you don't know, every Friday I will be uploading a movies and makeovers. It can pretty much be about anything. This time, as you can tell by the title, this will be more so about the limited series that's on Netflix called Clickbait. Just got done watching it last night and it's fresh on my mind, so yeah, we're gonna talk about it in this today's makeup and makeovers. What? Movies and makeovers. So yes, you guys, let's just go ahead and get right into it. Got my good old Starbucks going right here. Well, it's not really Starbucks. It's just in a Starbucks can. I'm drinking on some Dunkin' Donuts, the caramel iced coffee, and then I have like a little bit of creamer and stuff in here. But anywho, I know that's least of y'all concerns. So yeah, let's just get into talking about this series, because y'all, if you have not watched it, and also let me go ahead and put this out there, this will be a spoiler alert if you have not watched Clickbait, so I advise you not to watch beyond this point. But if you're like me and you don't really care about people telling about something, it only ignites the flame in you to want to go and watch it because you want to get your own perception, the movie or series, then definitely continue watching, because we're about to talk about this. This just really blew my mind. I probably won't go too much into detail just to save a little bit of the narrative for a couple of people, but y'all, that's all I can say about this. So I really wanted to try to get my brows done before actually going into talking about this, because I don't have a brow pencil, so I'm doing it real weird. This is how I used to do my brows like in high school. I used to just take like a brown powder, like a dark brown powder. I used to use like an eyeshadow, a dark brown eyeshadow, and just kind of fill in my brows as much as I can, because yeah, I've always had thin brows, y'all. Like, it's a proven factor. If I put some freaking photos of me when I was young, I'm probably not gonna do that, but I've always had thin brows. So once I got into, like, I didn't really start playing around with makeup until I got into high school, and my first time ever filling in my brows was probably like 11th grade. That's when I really was just like, ooh, I kind of like the darker brow look, but they wasn't really dark, they was more so red, which was weird. Anywho, so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just filling in my brows with some brow powder. Well, it's not really brow powder. It's from this contour palette. It's the darkest brown that's on there, so that's what we're using. But anywho, that ain't what we're talking about in this video. So, Clickbait. Oh my God, y'all. When I tell y'all, this is not a movie. I keep wanting to say movie because I do movies and makeovers, but this limited series, it's a limited series because they're not gonna come out with any more episodes or any more seasons, whatever the case may be. This was just a boom, bam, thank you, ma'am. You know what I'm saying? Type of ordeal. So, and I know it look kind of weird. Don't mind my brows. It's gonna get better. The way this show takes you on an emotional roller coaster, like, you're literally going to be all over the place while watching this series. It does have 8 episodes like a normal series will have on Netflix or from other shows and stuff. It gives you 8 episodes or whatever. So each episode has a different title and a different meaning behind it. You know, not really thinking too deep on the titles. You don't really like put 2 and 2 together, if that makes sense, because the way, and I just gotta give it a chef kiss, because the way that they kept spinning the narrative, like changing your point of view on each person in each episode, making you feeling some type of way towards somebody, like your thought process is just kind of like, no wait, no wait, like, I love that feeling. I'm a person that really loves, I'm into like horror movies and stuff like that too. Like, I love watching scary movies, and I love, like, you know, the gimmicky romantic comedies and stuff like that. Like, I like to watch all kinds of movies, don't get me wrong, from your hood to your nice, like, I like watching all kinds of movies. But my favorite type of movie would definitely have to be like a suspenseful, psychological thriller type of scary movie, or not even just a scary movie, but just a really suspenseful movie where it has you like, you know, on each turn or whatever. So how they set this show up was definitely something like that, of that nature. Like, it's literally gonna have you going like, what? No, like, what? Like, because that was definitely me last night. Me and my boyfriend was watching it. He got into it too. Like, I'm always trying to get him to watch stuff with me because he's not really into like watching TV or stuff like that, or watching like series, because he hates when I sit and binge watch something. He thinks that's like the dumbest thing to do in the world. He likes to spread stuff out. Me, if I'm into something, we finna watch this tonight, okay? Especially if it's only like, what, 8 episodes? We're watching this today. That's pretty much how it went. So y'all, oh my God, let's go ahead and start off with talking about the first episode. I know you lying. Okay, hold on. Somebody out here honking their horn. 1 second. All right, so got that under control. Well, I didn't get it under control, but they finally stopped honking their horn. I don't know. My neighbors are kind of weird out here, but whatever. So, like I was saying, in episode 1, with all the titles, it pretty much gives you an insight on each character that they kind of put like a focus point on, to kind of have you thinking like they were the ones behind this whole situation that went down. But in scene 1, it kind of just goes over this girl named Pia. Now, Pia is the sister of the main character that's in trouble in this situation. So Pia, it kind of follows her around. It starts off with them having dinner. They're celebrating their mom's birthday, and Pia is kind of like drunk, I would say. It seems that she's drunk, a little inebriated. So she's kind of like excited. The mom is opening her gifts and stuff. The first gift she opened was between her grandparents. I mean, her grandkids. Pia's brother is actually married to a black woman, which is like, okay, I like how they kind of threw that in there, you know what I'm saying? So they do have like mixed kids and stuff like that, but it wasn't like a problem or anything like that. I just wanted to throw that out there, and I thought that was a really cool thing. But so they're all sitting around the table talking or celebrating the mom's birthday, and Nick insisted for her to open up the next gift, which was supposed to be from the adults, which was Pia, Sophie, which is Nick's wife, and Nick. So I guess Sophie was under the impression that I guess they were supposed to get a gift, like a bread maker. Yeah, that's what it was. They were supposed to get a bread maker for their mom's birthday, but Sophie and Nick ended up changing the gift at the last minute, and Pia was not happy about that, because when the mom opened the gift and saw that it wasn't, I think it was like it was some kind of pan, I don't know, something where you can like display something on there. I really can't remember the name of the gift, but Pia was just very, very mad. So she kind of started going off like, what? We did not agree on that, but okay, whatever. You know, just kind of making a scene, you know? So Nick he was trying to like calm her down, like, it's okay. Like, we literally just changed this at the last minute. We felt that this would be a better gift. And then Pia was just kind of going in like, you guys are always leaving me out, da 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 da. Like, what's going on? Like, oh, and then she started saying like, oh, I think I know what the problem is, which is Nick's wife, Sophie. She thinks that Sophie is kind of putting this narrative in her mind that, you know, his sister is kind of like not a good thing. Like, you know how some people kind of brings down the energy around people with their problems or whatever the case may be? Sophie kind of saw Pia in that way. Like, she just kind of felt like Pia was never together. Like, she never had situations or certain things in order for herself to kind of like push forward and I guess succeed in life. So she was just kind of going in like, oh, I think I know what the reason is, and da 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 da. And then she gets up and storms out. We really don't see the whole argument, because it switched to her rushing out of the house and into the middle of the street screaming. So now she's kind of going into like this downward spiral. Like, she's just really frustrated and just mad about everything. She goes and just kick it. Like, she was like, oh, I need to go get drunk. I'm not gonna stay here for this. I need to release some stress, basically. So she's kicking it, she's turning up. She's basically just, you know, doing her thing. And then I guess she was out with somebody. I don't know if it was like her boyfriend. No, it wasn't her boyfriend. It was actually her brother's friend that she invited out to go kick it. And I guess he was, you know, he wanted to be with her, but she don't want to be with him type of situation. So she ended up like going to the bathroom, because I don't know what was going through her thought process at the moment, but it seemed like she was thinking about something. And then boom, she went into the bathroom and she started going like this Tinder style type of dating app, and just started swiping through dudes while she's like on the toilet. Like, it's just pretty much showing like her personality, basically. Like, you, in the first episode, you really getting to know Pia, basically. But in the first episode, so much went down. Like, you wouldn't think like, oh my God, this is just the first episode. Why is all of this happening? So she, you know, it kind of finishes out with her doing her thing. Her phone ended up falling in a toilet, which is disgusting. Now if I was ever in a situation where my phone falls into the toilet at the club, in the public bathroom, baby, we leaving that phone there. I'm not sticking my hand in no public club bathroom, okay? And that's the difference between me and some people. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say what kind of people, but but if you catch my drift, then you understand, because it's like, ew. But anyway, she ended up getting her phone out of the toilet. But let me say this though, because this is really gonna start tying some stuff together too. So in the first episode, when she was going through like the little Tinder profiles or whatever, how, you know, I guess you swipe right, swipe left for like if you like or if you don't like. So she came across this one guy, his name was Roshan. He's actually the detective through this whole ordeal. And at the time she didn't know, because at the time nobody knew that this was going to happen to her brother. So the next day comes, she kind of gets up, go to work. She put her phone in rice or whatever, so she didn't take her phone to work. She gets to work. I think it's kind of like my boyfriend said it was a plasma center where people come and like donate plasma and stuff, but to me it kind of looks like people that comes there for like cancer treatment, but you can be the judge of that. It kind of looked like that to me, but then again it do kind of look like a plasma center where people can come and donate some plasma or whatever. So it looks like Pia works in that type of environment. So it's a younger guy there. He's in high school and he's like a complete nerd, you know what I'm saying? Not a nerd, but like he's into like the whole hacking thing, and not even just hacking, it's more so like coding and like, you know, jailbreaking stuff, and he knows how to do that type of stuff, but like really, really good. So she's talking to him and they're kind of like laughing at different videos and stuff, and then he kind of came across another video from a girl that he followed on this platform that's similar to YouTube. So she's on there talking like, oh my god, you guys, I came across this video. I don't know if she came across it on a dark web or it wasn't even on a dark web. It was just uploaded onto the little platform that they do their YouTube type videos. The caption said, if this video gets 5 million views, not caption, the title. Well, it wasn't even a title, but she was kind of explaining the video, talking about like, oh, this crazy video, I don't know if it's real or not, but you know, people love to, you know, people do love to do a lot of RPG style type of situations when it comes to these videos. So she was just like, I don't know if this is a real video, but you guys have to tune in. It's crazy. It's about a guy who like committed rape on a woman and they said they're gonna kill him. So immediately he looked at Pia, the boy that she was like helping or whatever. He was like, do you want to watch it to see? And she was like, why not? You know, like it's nothing else to really do. So she was like, yeah, sure. So when he clicked on the video, her eyes got so big because she was just like, wait, what? Play that again? Play it again. And he was like, okay. Because it was like a little 10-second video, maybe not even that. It was a really short video. She recognized the person that was in the video. And lo and behold, it was her brother, Nick, in the video. He was somehow captured, he was kidnapped, not even captured. He was kidnapped and taken advantage of, and he was forced to hold up these signs that he killed a woman, he abused women, and by 5 million, if this video gives 5 million views, he will die. So that was pretty much the whole concept of the video. He was sitting there scared, holding up the signs, and then the video was cut off. And at that time, the video probably had about like 2,000 views, 2,000 to 3,000 views on it. So Pia started freaking out, and the guy was like, what's wrong? You know, she was like, I gotta go. She got up, went to the phone because she didn't have her cell phone. So she went to the phone to try to contact Nick's wife, which is Sophie. She works at, she's a teacher at a school. She was trying to get in touch with her, but the people wasn't trying to like give her the phone. She was like, oh, you'll have to call back. She's in a meeting. Like she's gonna be very busy all day, basically. Pia ended up hanging up the phone on the person and just kind of, did she have a car? No, she does have a car, but it seemed like she was kind of struggling to get around that day. I don't know if she left her car somewhere, but she ended up getting to the school. Well, actually going to the school where her brother worked as a physical therapist. It was a college campus. So she ended up going there first before going to meet up with Nick's wife, or to go and get her to tell her what's going on. But before then, she stopped at his job to see if he even came in, like was talking to the front receptionist. keep this in mind, okay? The front receptionist, fuck, what is her name? Didn't mean to cuss, but dang, it'll come to me. Just hold on, it's gonna come to me. But the front receptionist was basically like, oh, you know, I haven't seen him yet, not yet, but he's supposed to be in the meeting by 8 o'clock. So, you know, it's been past 8 o'clock, and then his sister Pia was just like, get in contact with the guy or whoever he was supposed to meet up with at 8 just to see if he made it to that meeting or not. Then Matt, which is Matt Alden, which is Nick's friend at the job, came up to P and was like, hey, what's up? What's going on? Like, you seem like, he was kind of looking at her and noticed that she was kind of frantic. So she's kind of like, you know, I haven't heard from my brother this morning. I saw this crazy video and I don't know if this is real or not. I don't know. So she ended up showing the video to the friend and he's kind of like, whoa, what? Is this real? That was everybody's like reaction, because it was just like, why is he in this situation? Why is it saying that he killed somebody, he raped somebody, and he's a woman abuser? Like, why is it saying that? And everybody that knew Nick knew that this wasn't like a real thing, because he was basically like a genuine person. Like, everybody knew him as this sweet, charismatic guy who just loves, you know, to help whenever he can. Like, he was just one of them type of people. But the way that they set this up will make you just be like, I knew it was something up. I knew something wasn't right about this Nick guy. But yeah, let's just keep going. So she's showing him the video, he's freaking out, and then the front desk receptionist lady was kind of like, oh, he hasn't met up with the guy. Like, the guy just said that they didn't meet up or whatever. So P is starting to freak out. She was like, I gotta go. Try to get this information to Sophie so she can see, maybe she'll have an answer of what's going on. So she ended up going to the school. I guess it's a type of school where you gotta have like a certain type of, I don't know, badge or something to get to go and like walk around school. But she ended up like bum rushing past the security and going straight to Sophie's classroom and like started beating on the window. The security started like chasing her and stuff too, because they're like, hey, do you have proof to be here? Da, 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 da. So she's banging on the window and Sophie is kind of looking like, oh my God. Like, she thought it was going to be another situation where she was going to create a scene like she did last night, because literally Sophie and, I mean, no, not Sophie, Pia and Nick got into it last night, like really, really bad. And like throughout the video, throughout the show, it's gonna like show glimpses and clips of like, well, this is really in the first episode. It's gonna start showing like clips of them arguing, like what everything was said and like, you know, what caused her to storm out of the house in the first scene, basically. So Sophie ended up going outside. The security was talking to Sophie like, do you know her? Da, 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 da. And then she was like, please tell her that you know me, like we're family. So she was like, yeah, this is my sister-in-law. So the security just ended up turning away and walking off. So she's like kind of franticking, and like Sophie is like, okay, what are you talking about? And she was like, have you seen Nick this morning? She was like, yeah, I saw him before, you know, he left to go on his ride, because Nick was the type of person that would ride his bike to work as a form of a workout, you know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't really drive his car, so whoever kidnapped him knew his routine, basically. So Sophie is like, yeah, he do his same thing every morning. Like, he went on the bike ride to go to work. And then Pia was kind of like, well, he's not at work. I just left him there. They haven't heard from him. And I came across this video of him. So she ended up showing her the video of him like holding up the signs and confessing to like murder and stuff like that. And Sophie is kind of like calm, but too calm. And through this show, it was kind of pissing me off. And then it kind of had me thinking, you know, she might be behind something. But yeah, we just gonna keep going. Like, the way this show takes you just on a curve, like each episode is gonna have you thinking a totally different narrative. Like, it's crazy. So whoever directed this and put this together, they did a really good job. Like, I will say the storyline was there. It wasn't that type of storyline where it was just like all over the place, you know, like it literally had a substance behind it. Like, each episode wasn't just like a weird random put together episode where it was trying to keep the storyline alive. Like, this literally, like, this is kind of like how it was going with the storyline, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was good. But anyways, so she's kind of like calm, and like Pia is freaking out, like, what we gonna do? Let's go to the police. And she was like, okay, I gotta go to my kids or something like that. So Yeah. So yeah, they ended up going to the police station and stuff. They ended up showing one of the police clerks that was sitting in the front the video and saying that this is you know, our family member and he's missing and we don't understand why this is going on. And like the way the police and stuff and the detectives were reacting to this situation was just not giving what needed to be gave. It was like pissing me off so bad because these people are up here freaking out. You see what he's holding up, and basically time is of the essence. Like literally, like we gotta go and find my brother. Like she was just like freaking out and she was really getting mad at Sophie because she was just way too calm. Like, why are you so calm right now? Like, this is your husband, he is missing, and we need the police to go out here and find him before this video hit 5 million views. And like Sophie was kind of telling Pia though, like, you know, the more you watch it, that's a view that's counted. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you don't need to watch it, but she's like, I'm trying to keep up with the views just so we can see where we at. But this video started to go like viral, and let alone this was the first episode. Like all of this was happening in the first episode. So the video was going viral. It ended up getting on the news channels, local news channels, national news channels. And you know, when something goes viral like that, the views are going to shoot through the roof. So it was going to hit 5 million in no time. So from the last time when she was showing it to like Nick, from Matt to Sophie, I think it was around like 5,000 views or something like that. When they got to the police station, that John shot up to like 30,000 views, and she was just like, oh my god, like how is this happening? And Pia wasn't just into like not social media, but like into stuff like that, so she didn't really know, like once a video goes viral and more people start clicking on it and talking about it, those views are gonna go crazy. That's kind of like how it is right now in the real world. If you put up a video that is very interesting and somebody is like doing something that's just like, it's gonna go viral, and then people are gonna go crazy. But the way this one blew up, because it was talking about a guy that will possibly end up dying out of this whole situation. Well, it wouldn't, well, let me not say that. But a guy that's possibly about to die in this whole situation would definitely go viral. And then for it to hit the news channels, so yeah, it was a wrap. But you know, she's just really like panicking and talking crazy, and Sophie is trying to calm down Pia, and Pia is just not having it. She's like, no, like this is my brother. We need to figure out who is doing this. Why is this even happening to him? We need to figure it out, and the police need to get on their job. You know, like this is nothing to be like, oh, okay, we're gonna get on it, just hold on. Like, no, we need to get on it now. This is a national news coverage at this point. So as they're about to leave out, freaking Roshan, the guy that she met on the dating app, where she sent a message to on the dating app, comes walking down the stairs, and he's actually a detective at the police station. So she kind of looking like she saw a ghost, like, oh shoot. And he's looking like, oh shoot, like you're the girl from the app or whatever. So he's like, yeah, I'm Roshan, I'm the detective that's gonna be on this case for the missing person part. Like that's he was over the missing person section of the police force. I don't know what you would call it, but he was over that. He had another detective, which was a pure asshole. He was over the homicide part. So you know, you got about like 48 hours or something until it turns into a homicide situation. So right now they was in the time frame to where Roshan was going to be helping on the case, and he was going to help try to find the missing person, which is the brother Nick. So she's kind of like giving details, showing him the video, and he's kind of like, okay, so did he have any issues with anybody? Did he have any, like, just basically trying to map out certain things about him to make him seem like a bad person, or to make it seem like he brought himself into this situation? Where I thought it was kind of like a dumb thing, but I get it. The police got to kind of, you know, fill out every part of this situation. But if a family is coming in there panicking about somebody and they're telling you this is not him, we don't understand why this is even happening to him, and we need to figure this out quickly, because they're saying they're going to kill him once this video hit a certain number, and we don't want that to happen. But they was kind of like just making it seem like it wasn't that serious, like we're just trying to make sure, you know, I don't know, just basically being assholes about the whole situation. In my eyes, it was just like really pissing me off. Like, dude, just get on the freaking case. Like, so Pia ended up going back to work, and that's when she saw it was on the news and stuff, and she ended up storming out of her job like, I can't do this. So they ended up going back to Nick's and Sophie's house to kind of figure out, you know, trying to put two and two together of like why this is happening. Pia's friend, the little guy that's into breaking into stuff, coding and all that stuff, he ended up stopping her while she was about to storm out and was like, I can help. Like, it's a little group on this situation that's actually trying to put two and two together, and we're trying to help solve the situation. And she was just like, get that out of my face. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, that don't even make sense to me. So she wasn't trying to hear it at first, but she ended up storming out. Oh, excuse me. And then later on, the boy ended up coming to her house and was letting her know, like, hey, like, we kind of put like a thing together on this, you know, where your brother could be or whatever. And she was just like, how is that even possible? That don't even make sense. So they ended up going up to her room, and like he laid out the laptop and like started going through everything. Cause you know, it's really like that in real life. Like certain people, certain groups on the internet, like if it's a serious crime and they can't really figure out things, a lot of times people on the internet will come together and try to put clues and two together on their own, which is kind of dope. So that was kind of like what that situation was. Like, he was a part of a community that was putting two together, trying to figure out stuff, and he was letting her know, like, you know, it's old retired detectives that's actually on the internet trying to help and do this stuff. And they ended up coming up with a picture that was inside of the van where he was sitting, and it shows that it was like an old 2000 type of delivery van that he was sitting in. And she ended up taking that information and going back to the police. The police at first was not trying to hear it. They was like, we're not going to go off some internet board on where to find your brother. A lot of the times this is just people trying to like not contaminate, but just mess with the flow of things and kind of throw you off track. So at first they wasn't like, no, they wasn't going for it. Let's just say that. They were just like, nah, we're not gonna do that. But Roshan was being very like nice, you know, like, oh yeah, let's just keep this in mind, you know what I'm saying? Like, just in case if we need that extra help. But he was like, this is some really good stuff. Like, we can definitely use this to figure out. And then because Pia and Matt ended up going to the police station again with all that information. And then Matt ended up turning around and saw that they were looking at videos, and they see her brother on the bike, like riding around the city. So they're kind of like going back a week, just trying to figure out his routine to see if anybody was following him, you know, like just to find something out of the normal in the videos from the traffic cameras. So they were talking about that, and they ended up coming back. The lead detective ended up coming back like, okay, we're gonna go and search this van or whatever, because they ended up finding a van the only van in the whole city in this one area. So they started loading up to go or whatever. They ended up getting there and he wasn't in the van. It actually goes black, and this is when it goes into episode 2. And episode 2 is actually going to be going over the detective. Like, it's going to be kind of giving you insight on the detective, letting you in on that character to get to know him or whatever. So Roshan on the police force, and he's also Muslim. He doesn't really get along with a lot of people that's on his job, especially the lead detective. Anyway, I'm just calling him Detective Asshole because he was definitely an asshole this whole time. Him and that detective definitely just did not get along. He felt that that person just had a certain strife against him, like because he is Muslim. He thought he was that type of person that was like racist a little bit, because he was always giving him flack on anything. When they didn't find the brother, they ended up switching it over to homicide now, because it put up a statistic on the video saying once the search goes over 48 hours, it then drops down 50% chance of the person being alive. So therefore it switches over to a homicide type of search. So Roshan would no longer be on the case anymore in a way. He can help if he want, but he's not going to be the point of contact. He's not going to be in charge or the lead or whatever. Once they switched to that, the detective was just always sending him home. He was like, go home, you don't need to be here, da 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 da. So Roshan was just getting pissed off because he made a vow to pay to help find her brother, because she was only trusting him at the moment, because of course they met on the dating app. So she kind of got a feeling like, oh, he's gonna help, I know he's gonna help, you know. She just kind of had this trusting kind of feel towards Roshan, and she only wanted to like talk to him about everything. For like a couple of days they kept sending him home, like, just go home, get some rest, you know, you don't have to worry about what's going on. It's now in the homicide hands. So he was just kind of like, but he had a feeling like, oh, I think he's still alive, let's not think of it that way. But and that's when the statistic and stuff popped up, like, you know, it's only a 50% chance that he may still be alive. And now after everything, somebody that was I guess, following the story behind this missing person, they ended up creating an app, basically. Kind of like if you remember that app where it was like the Pokemon, you had to kind of go around and find different stuff for Pokemon. You had to find different Pokemons basically around like your city and stuff like that. So they kind of made an app like that where people can kind of go around to search for Nick's body, basically. And I was just like, what the heck? People are real deal crazy. Like, and the way these episodes go about, you really start to build a mental relationship around these characters, because you start to get to know them a little better, and like their different backgrounds and situations on certain situations. So it was still showing flashes of Pia and her brother, like the argument. He ended up saying, just get out, don't come back, like just get out of my life. Like that was the last thing that they both said to each other, what he said to Pia. And that kind of broke Pia. Like Pia was going crazy because she was just like, I don't want that to be the last conversation that I have with my brother if he is going to die, you know? So the video is still going viral. And then by the middle of this episode, it do end up hitting 5 million views. So the video ended up getting taken down, and now Pia is just kind of like my brother is about to die, like what the heck. So Rashawn ended up going to like the lead sergeant or whatever, and was just kind of presenting evidence. He even brought up the app to the sergeant, like this could possibly help in the case. She was like, no, she kind of just threw that to the left, because that's basically an app where people, if they do come across something, they can tamper with evidence and stuff like that. So she was like, no, or give a false direct on the situation. So she's like, no, we're not finna do that. So she was kind of blowing him out the water too, but he was just like, I made a promise to this family and I just need to stay on this case. And she was just like, well, today is your lucky day because they made you the point of contact. They only want to talk to you as far in regards to like updates on the case. So he was kind of like relieved on there, like, okay, cool. And then he kind of like felt a certain way too, because he said he put in an application to kind of get, what is it called on the job when you get bumped up? I don't know, but he been trying to get on homicide for the longest. And she was like, yeah, I know you put in one last year and the year before that. So he was like, what's going on? And she was like, don't you worry yourself on that. This is just go and worry about this case or whatever, because they want you to be the point of contact. So we need you to go ahead, you know, and just work on this one. So he's kind of like, okay, whatever. So he ended up walking out. He was excited though, because he was still able to get on to this case, and this was gonna actually help him in the long run as far as getting that promotion. That's the word. Getting the promotion to be on homicide. So when he was walking out, the detectives, like the other detectives, it was kind of like a high school scene. They were like whistling at him like, ooh, you know, because they then realized that, because they had to confiscate like all of the electronics and everything from the family's home, and even from like the close friends and stuff, because they just wanted to kind of narrow out or weed out any suspects that's within the family. Because the way things were going, they were just kind of like, this has to be something that hit close, because who else would know this kind of information? So they were just kind of like trying to see that. So they ended up confiscating Pia's phone, and they saw the messages that they were directing back and forth, and they ended up putting a freaking, like all his pictures and everything, I guess, that he sent to her, like on the wall, and like just had them everywhere. And Rashawn just had enough. He just kind of went up to the detective and was like, you have a different motive against me, just go ahead and say it, you coward. He was thinking like, okay, yeah, you're a racist because I'm Muslim, you don't want me to be on this case, like you don't want me to help with anything. So the detective was looking at him like, boy. So he ended up just going in on him, talking about, that's the least of my concern. Like, you just selfish. Like, you don't want to help. You only think about yourself in situations, and we're more of a team working type of field, and you just only worried about yourself. And that's why you want to stay on this case, because you know it's going to help you, you know, get to the next level, this, that, and the third. So it kind of like kept him, like, it stunned him a little bit, because he was like, okay. So after he said all of that, he was then like, okay, and you got one more time, don't ever come at me like that again, because I am the lead detective on this, and I can fire you off of this situation, to where you know, like just kind of going in on him. So Rashawn ended up turning away, like walking off or whatever. So now the scene is back to Sophie. So Sophie, she's kind of like rethinking some things. She went back on the anniversary day, like reminiscing on the good times. Like, I can't believe this is happening to my husband. And like, yeah, some stuff started coming up on her that was kind of like, girl, what? I would have never thought this was going down, but it did. Cause she was starting to feel guilty, and what she was feeling guilty about would have you like, girl, no, I know you ain't doing that. At the party, it shows that she was like talking to her friend. She was sitting down at a table. She was just kind of like reminiscing, and then like she ended up getting a text message from a guy. And this guy, she actually ended up having an affair. She ended up cheating on her husband with this guy, and she said it happened over like 6 months ago, but it was only like brief. It wasn't something that was like, well, it probably was pretty serious because it was going on for a minute. Like 6 months is a long time. And you telling me it wasn't nothing serious? But she said she ended up calling it off because the guy was like falling in love with her, and she wasn't trying to have it get to that level. But what do you expect when someone is talking to you for 6 months straight? Or I don't think, she said she ended it 3 months ago. So another 3 months is still a long time. Like somebody can fall in love with you pretty fast. You don't know how that person's feelings is, you know, their thought process when it comes to talking to someone. But yeah, he was like, I'm in love. And the text message was like, I miss you, or something like that. And yeah, and she was sitting there blank, and then it cut to the next scene. At first it kind of had me thinking that she was behind some of this, because as the storyline starts to progress, you will start seeing some other things, because a lady ended up coming out of nowhere saying that she was the mistress of Nick. Like her and Nick had something going on and they were in love. And I was just like, hold on. Like, I'm telling y'all, the way that this is just, like, you just gonna be so confused a little bit in these first couple of episodes, because when I tell you different scenarios and situations behind Nick, it's just gonna be hitting you left and right, and you're just not gonna know what to feel or what to think, because it's like you have a certain notion behind. Because my first thought, I thought that it was something with the wife, because, you know, they found out she was cheating on him and stuff. So maybe the guy that she was talking to ended up killing the boyfriend, because they ended up finding footage of them fighting in a bar. So they ended up arresting him, and she was arrested too, because she was there at his house that night trying to like get answers and stuff. And y'all, it was just a lot going on in her episode too. So yeah. So she was out looking for her son, because when her and Pia was arguing, she was like, don't let this be the reason that my brother died, because you cheated on him with this guy. Is he the one that murdered my brother? They were arguing in like the office or whatever, and her son was literally standing outside of the office door listening. And he heard the whole thing where she cheated on the dad and stuff. And she was like, I don't know. I don't think he did this, and da 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 da. So she opened the door. He was standing there. He ended up rushing out of the house, running on his skateboard. Don't know where he went to though. But he ended up leaving, and she was like trying to find him and stuff. And lo and behold, the mistress was actually standing outside her house. Didn't see that part at first until they got on the episode of her, but she was following her. She ended up following her to like the skate park, and Sophie kind of noticed her. Like she was just standing there looking crazy. Like she was looking like, so Sophie ended up walking up on her. This is when I was getting excited, because Sophie was starting to act like the black lady I wanted her to act from the beginning, because she was just so calm and like, no, calm down. I get it, certain people react different to different situations, but girl, your husband is missing, you getting all these answers, and then you getting different information about your husband, like he's possibly a cheater and a killer, and like you just so calm. Like, I need you to turn up a little bit. So she finally started turning up on the girl, like, stop the fucking car, da da da. She was like, who are you? What do you want? Like going off on her. And the white lady, she was just like, hello. And it was just like weird. Like she was even acting weird too. Like, what? So she ended up introducing herself, talking about some, oh, me and your husband, we having a relationship, and just kind of like going in. And Sophie is standing there like, what? No, you're lying. Like my husband would never. So when she was telling her all the information, she said, you just doing this out of your guilt. And you know what? You can choke on it. I don't care. I don't need you to come like telling me this information. Like, why do you think I need to know this right now? You know, my husband is dead, and we're trying to figure out who killed him, like at this point. And you're over here telling me that y'all had a relationship? Like, girl, bye. So she wanted to get in contact with the Emma girl, and like Emma was in town. You know, she was like, yeah, I'm gonna meet up with her. Like, I gotta talk to her. But Emma actually, no, did they? No, yeah, they did actually meet up. She ran into her. No, she went to her hotel, because she was like, how did you know I was here? She was like, you gave it to my sister-in-law, so you obviously wanted people to know where you were. So she ended up getting the information from Sophie, you know, the hotel and stuff that she was staying in. So she met up, and she was just like, how do you know my brother? Like, what's going on? She was like, we've been talking for 6 months. I love him. We're in love. So Pia's just kind of like, I don't know. I still don't trust you. I don't believe you. Pia started thinking like maybe she's the one behind this. Like she's the reason my brother is dead and stuff like that. But Emma was trying to assure her like, I have nothing to do with that. I'm just here to help as much as I can and to give him information about me and your brother. Like we literally would talk every day. She ended up showing her like messages and stuff like that. And Pia got mad and just stormed out. Emma actually ended up getting a random call from somebody like, I know that you're out here. You need to leave. I know you living in this, not living, I know you staying at this hotel and you in room 910. Like they was just going in on her. And y'all. So that kind of spooked Emma out. She ended up like packing her things and I think she was just gonna go to like another hotel or whatever. But as she was making route or whatever, she ended up getting rushed off the road by a random person in his green truck. So it ended up switching to the scene where she was in the hospital talking to Roshan. Cause she did, Emma, the mistress, Emma, that's her name. She ended up going to the police and kind of like telling, you know, her side of the story of like, I knew him and I don't think he was that type of person. And I guess just trying to help clear his name. But then it got out that Nick was cheating on his wife. You know, like they obviously had marital problems. And basically Nick's name was just dragged through the mud after that. They were just actually saying like, oh, maybe he is a rapist and just going in on him. Like it was crazy. So you kind of see her story on how they met and stuff and what led to them falling in love and everything. But like the way the story was set up, you would have thought that they like met in person. But at the end of the day, like towards the end, because I'm skipping around now just so you can kind of go back and watch it yourself. But like towards the end, she actually didn't meet him. But like the way that they was setting the storyline up, you would have thought they met in person, that they done, you know, had intercourse and just been together, honey. Like everything was like a mind freak. Like it's gonna mess with your mental this whole time because it will have you thinking one way when it ain't that at all. Because it's gonna be one scene where the son, he was talking to a girl too, but it was just only over the internet. So Ethan, Nick's son, was kind of like, he was kind of like messed up because he was trying to figure out like, oh, you talking to somebody? Who is she? And then he was like, it's only over the internet. And she was like, have you met them in person? Like started going off on him because she was like, you know what's going on with your dad? They're saying that, you know, all this internet stuff that he killed somebody and, you know, with these women, these relationships over the internet. So he's like, no, I met up with her. But in actuality, she didn't. He didn't. So he started freaking out about the girl that he was like talking to, because through this whole situation of everything that's been going on, he's been giving like the details like on what's been happening with his dad to this girl. Spray my face. He's been giving all the details, like literally from the rooter to the tutor, like texting this girl, like this is what's happening. This is the information that came up. This is about this woman, da 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 da. Like just all this stuff. But then he was kind of laying in bed, like going through the messages, like kind of like fishing out like key words that the girl was texting him. And he was like, who are you? Why we can't? Because they would never meet in real life. So he was like, I want to meet you. And she's like, I do too. And he was like, yeah, I want to meet you today. She's like, well, no, I can't do that. I have a medical issue. And he's just kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, you sound crazy. Basically, like she was talking in a way where it sounded like a catfish. Basically, he just started going off on her, basically like saying, oh, you're probably not who I think you are. And she texts back like, I sent you pictures of me. And he was just like, how do I know if they're real? You could be some type of pedophile in your mom's basement texting me right now, like just going in. So she ended up sending her address to my son. Okay, come to this address if you want to meet me. So he ended up going to that address, which is kind of crazy because it's like, why would you, if you feel this certain way about somebody, you don't think they're real or anything, why would you go to the damn, anyway. So he ended up going to the address, which was in a whole nother neighborhood, not a good neighborhood, let me say it like that. So he ended up showing up. He found the house. He walked up to the door, but he ended up picking up like this little shovel type of thing, and he hid it behind his back. So when he knocked on the door, the girl's dad actually answered the door, and he just started going off like, I knew you wasn't Allison, that was her name. I knew you wasn't Allison. You're an old man just praying on, like just going off. And then he was like, whoa, Allison, that's my daughter. And he was like, and Allison ended up coming around the corner. So it ended up being a real person, like it was really her. They ended up calling Emma on, like, it kind of looked like a Facebook type of app. So they ended up calling her over that chat or whatever. She wasn't answering at first, so he was kind of feeling like, this not gonna work. She's not gonna talk to me. So they ended up messaging her like, hey, I just want to talk to you face to face so I can get some answers. I'm Nick's son or whatever. So she ended up calling calling him back, and she was looking real weird, real scary or whatever when she answered it. But he started answering, you know, trying to ask questions and stuff like, how did you guys meet? Have y'all ever met in person? And she was like, I loved your dad. And at first she was kind of making it seem like they did meet in person. Well, she wasn't really answering it, but she was trying to make it seem like she did. He was like, have you even heard his voice before? Like, what do he sound like? And she was like, yes, of course I did, you know? So he ended up playing a snippet on this video that he had of his dad talking. And he was like, did he sound like this? So he ended up playing the clip or whatever. And she was kind of looking lost, like, hold on, wait. And she was like, can you play that again? So he ended up playing it again, and her eyes got real big. And she was just like, no, you know, like, that's not him. That's not who I was talking to. He did not sound like that at all. So she ended up rushing off the phone like, I'm sorry. Even though she like did this whole interview trying to bash him and being like, oh, we used to meet up in LA like every other week. Like, just making it seem like she was actually meeting this guy in person, when in reality, she never met him in person at all. So now when you start seeing things and it starts to add up, this man, somebody was using his pictures to catfish all of these women, because it is one scene where the whole situation of how he got captured is because he ended up catfishing one of these girls that had like a mental illness, like a problem. She was kind of suffering from depression and like other situations. So mentally she wasn't stable at all. And she ended up falling in love with this Jeremy guy, which was using Nick's pictures. Towards the end, he ended up breaking it off with her, saying like, oh, I don't want to be with you no more. And she was telling him like, you know what will happen if, you know, you break up with me. You know, I told you what I'll do. And at the end, it was like, I don't care what you do. Go ahead and do it. It's over. Like, I don't care. And it was kind of heartbreaking. Like, you're going to get some scenes where it's going to have you like, oh my God, like, this is so sad. And that was like one of the parts that was sad, because the other character, the brother, this is in the episode called The Brother, his name was Simon, which was the brother of, what was her name? Hold on, let me go back. Her name was Sarah, but she was using like a fake name too as well, because the reporter that was pretty much being an asshole too, he was just doing way too much just to get his hands on this story. But he ended up breaking inside of the girl's brother. He ended up breaking inside of Simon's home, stole the girl's phone just to get like receipts and evidence that Nick was this monster, that he did kill women, he mentally abused women, because the Sarah girl actually ended up committing suicide. And that broke the brother Simon. Like, he was just like, because she was kind of telling him like, oh, this is it's a guy, his name is Jeremy, I love him. You know, at first she wasn't trying to tell him what was going on, but yeah. And then he ended up finding, like, when all that happened, because Sarah ended up calling her brother one day and she was like apologizing to him like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I have to do it. Like, basically it was like, that scene was just so sad, because he already knew his sister wasn't mentally capable of like dealing with something like that. Like, that's why he was so close knit to her. He was always, you know, on her, like being around her, because he didn't want her to get attached to someone and this happens, you know, like somebody would break her heart, you know, all of that stuff. Like, it was crazy. So the brother Simon ended up kidnapping Nick, because he thought Nick was the guy that made his sister kill himself. Like, you killed my sister, basically. Like, that's what he was telling him. And Nick was kind of like, you got the wrong guy. Like, I don't even know what you talking about. Like, who is your sister? So they ended up beating on him and stuff. Like, it's crazy. Y'all just have to really go and watch this series. Like, it's gonna really have you like, oh my God. Like, so all in all, somebody was catfishing, using his pictures and everything, but they still don't know who is behind this. Like, who is doing this? Remember when I told you to keep in mind of the front receptionist when Nick met her? Yeah, it's gonna all tie together. It's gonna have you like, wow, okay, that took a hard left, because I would have never thought that this person was behind it. But as stuff start building up, you'll start seeing like, wow, like you'll really start getting the notion or getting the feeling like, okay, yeah, that was that person. The Ethan's girlfriend, Allison, that he was talking to, you know how I was saying she was helping him put two and two together, like, this what you can do, this what you can do. So she ended up sending him a text message, and Ethan's brother Kai, I haven't mentioned him because he don't really have like a prominent prominent role in everything. You'll see him pop up and say like a couple of things, and then it was one scene where he got into a fight with another kid because they finally ended up going back to school after everything was kind of like dying down. So he ended up getting into a fight, and you know, it kind of circled around him on that. But Kai was trying to figure out what his brother was doing because he was always on the computer and stuff. So he came in there on his brother while he was on the computer, and his Ethan ended up exiting out of like all of the stuff that he was in. So he was like, what you were doing? He was like, don't worry about it, you know. And then his mom, their mom, ended up calling them downstairs to like talk to them about something. She was like, we're gonna move. I don't think this, you know, we're gonna be here anymore. Let's start over. And Kai was not having it. He was like, I'm not gonna move. And then Ethan was kind of like, I mean, and then Kai just started going off on Ethan like, you're a nerd. You don't even have a life. I actually have a life and I have friends. I don't want to move. Da, 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 da. So he ended up storming off and going upstairs. His mom and Ethan was kind of like talking about something. No, Ethan started going over the information that he gave to Pia, and she was like, didn't I tell you not to, like, I told you to stop talking about this, like let the police handle it. And he was like, no, like I want to help, like I want to find out who really was behind this. Like we need to still be on it to figure out who killed our dad. Kai's brother ended up going upstairs, getting on his computer to be nosy, like, okay, well, who was he on here talking to? So Allison ended up sending a text message saying, what did she say? She was like, I think she said found it or something like that. And he sent question marks, and she sent an address. She was like, this is the address where you know how you can track IPs or whatever? She said, this is where all of the pictures came from, because the woman, Emma, the mistress, ended up sending Ethan like pictures and stuff that they had together. So it kind of dissected, and Allison ended up dissecting it and talking about some, oh yeah, this was definitely photoshopped. The pictures were photoshopped. You know, like she was into that kind of stuff too, like really cracking codes and like figuring out stuff. So she sent the address. She was like, this is the address, what you gonna do? So Kai was actually the one reading it and not Ethan. So Kai ended up taking that address and taking the Uber to the address. And what pisses me off is like, why would you do that? You know, like you don't know who's there. This could really be somebody that's dangerous, and you're only what, like 16? I think he was like 15, 16, and you walking up on these people with a baseball bat. You think that's gonna scare them? No. Like, what is wrong with you? So he ended up going to the address, and lo and behold, who answers the door? The freaking receptionist lady. Like, I cannot think her name. What was her name? Anyways, it was her. They answered the door, and she was looking at Kai like, oh baby, like what's wrong? Why are you here this late? Like trying to play this role of a caring older lady. Like, oh, let me tell you, she wasn't old, like 60s or maybe even 70s, in her 70s type of old. And like she was just like, oh, it's concerning, like it's late, come on in, like I don't want you standing out here. So he had the bat in his hand. He ended up placing the bat on the wall, like, okay, because he trusted this woman, because you know he would always hear his dad talking about her or whatever, so he knew her. It wasn't like he didn't know her at all. So, but you can tell by the ambience of that scene that something ain't right. Like something is not right. So they ended up inviting the boy in. They set him down. They made him like some, I think they was in the middle of having dinner. They ended up making him a plate or whatever, and they were talking, and they was like, do somebody know that you're here? And he was like, I'm glad he was thinking on his feet and not saying no. But he was like, yeah, my mom and my brother know that I'm here. And they was like, they know that you're here at our house. And he was like, yeah. So the woman's husband ended up getting up from the table like, okay, let's go ahead and try to get you home. Let me go grab my coat and stuff. So he ended up going to the room and actually pulling out a gun. And I was just like, oh my God, like what the heck is going on? So then it started flashing, and he was like going off on his wife like, I wish you would have never started doing this, all because you wanted to play games, and just going off on her. And she was just like, I'm sorry, like I didn't mean for it to get this far, and like basically pleading and like trying to apologize. But it's like, baby, it's too late. You got somebody killed out of this whole situation. So how you know she was the one that was catfishing everybody behind this situation was because, you know, in her scene, it says the title of hers, hold on, let me the title of hers is called The Answer. That was the last episode. And she actually, it starts to flash back on like how they met, and she was helping him set up his computer. She connected his phone to the computer and everything, and like all of his pictures and all of his information started popping up. And then he was gonna stand there and wait just to get his phone and stuff to make sure everything is everything, but he got called into a meeting. So she was like, you go ahead to that meeting, I'll do this or whatever. So her being nosy, she started like going through his pictures, going through certain things, and it does show that Nick, he did have a profile on a certain dating website, because a lady ended up messaging him like, oh, I haven't heard from you in a long time. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? So all in all, I do think Nick and Sophia were having marital problems, and they both were cheating on each other. But Sophie didn't know that Nick was cheating on her. He had a dating profile ever since like 2018. So yeah, ain't no telling what Nick was going, but it didn't really go into detail behind Nick's life, like what Nick was doing before everything, you know. So anyways, fast forward back to this, she was kind of going through and she seen the messages like, oh, so you not this angel after all. Like, she thought he was so sweet and loving. He was always talking about his wife, his kids, and just other certain situations. But you know, it started just going through different scenes of them connecting and like talking, and Nick ended up telling his story to the receptionist lady, like letting her know like, my wife cheated on me, this is what's happening, and I don't think our marriage is, you know, going good right now. And that was the wrong thing to do with her, because she was taking that narrative and creating these dating profiles because she was bored in her marriage, because her husband was kind of like this nerd, like a train nerd. He had built a train track, and they pretty much had that regular boring type of old couple relationship, and she just wasn't happy with that anymore. She wanted to fill that void by basically creating these catfish profiles by using Nick's pictures. In one scene, it shows him running up, because he actually, the Simon guy and his friend actually Simon actually let him go or whatever, because he started to realize like, oh, I got the wrong person. He really didn't kill my sister, because they ended up sharing the story. Nick ended up sharing the story with him like, why would I even tell your sister to do this? My dad died the same way. He killed himself. Like, I would never do that to anyone else or tell them to do that when I witnessed and, you know, went through that same situation. So he was pleading with him and like letting him know like, I'm not behind this. I didn't do this. I really don't know your sister. Like, somebody is using my pictures. Simon was kind of putting two to two together as well. So yeah, it's just crazy like how they go about this. Just make you feel like people are probably really out here doing this type of stuff. Well, it's not even a probably. There are people out here doing this type of situations where they're taking other people's pictures, creating this whole narrative behind this person, and making other people believe, you know, that they're with this person. And then it probably has been a situation where it led to a death or just a crazy situation, you know. Simon ended up letting him go. He was running. And when he ended up coming to the receptionist lady's house, she was in there talking to her husband. Her husband was like going off on her, like, what is wrong with you? You're sick. You're a sick person. And she went into the kitchen or whatever, and she heard a bang. Like, she was trying to plead to her husband, like, I'm not doing it anymore, and Nick ended up banging on the door. He was like bang, bang, bang. And he ended up walking through her house and because he was running off adrenaline. Like, I know he was tired. So he ended up running into her house, went to the sink and started drinking water. He was like, this is your fault. Like, started going off on her. Like, this is your fault. I know you were behind this. You were the only person that had access to pictures. You the only one that knew this information, because Simon ended up saying like, oh, you're married and you had probably your wife cheated on you. And he was like, how did you know that? You know what I'm saying? So Nick started putting two to two together from his standpoint, like, oh my God, this woman is creating these profile, or she's behind this profile that got this man's sister killed. I told you, you're the only person that know this information. We're going to the police and we're gonna figure this out. Like, just going in, like, we're gonna figure this, like, we're gonna end this right now. We're going to the police. And then the woman's husband ended up coming, like, while he's going off on her, coming up behind him, hitting him in the head with a hammer. And Nick fell to the ground to his knees, and he was like, you know, he was still kind of like, but he was wobbly a little bit. He ended up looking back, and the husband went across his head again with the hammer, and that's how he ended up dying. Which was so, I was just like, oh my God, like, people, like, why would he do that? And he was just like, I'm not going to jail for you. And it's like, you didn't even have to kill that man. You could have just told him to get out your house, you know, like, get out, you know, we'll handle this in court, basically. All of these flashbacks started happening while Kai was in a car. They was going to take him home, but they ended up going another way. And Kai's trying to figure out, like, where are you going? Like, this don't seem like the right way. And the woman's husband was like, oh, this is a shortcut. So they ended up, like, taking him to this barnyard or trailer park type of thing, and he's like trying to scuffle. They ended up putting him in his room. They zip tied his hands and stuff, but he ended up getting free. He's running, and the man ended up shooting at him, and like it was just crazy. Like the scene just started to get real crazy. That's when Sophie and Pia and everybody was like searching for him, because the brother was like, oh, I think I know where he is, because he looked on his computer. He got on his computer to kind of like, I guess, go through the messages or whatever, and he saw the address, like, I know where he is. So they got in contact with the police, Rashawn and all of them, and they went out on a manhunt, and they're running around, and like Kai was doing some dumb stuff that was pissing me off. Like, I know you half black and half white, but you really leaning towards the other side right now, because you're not doing common sense right now. Like, you're doing some crazy stuff. So it was like pissing me off a little bit, like, bro, come on now. So all in all, you find out that the receptionist lady was behind everything. The man, her husband, ended up pretty much committing suicide, because he's like, I'm not going to jail. I didn't sign up for this. You know what I'm saying? Which I get, but I wouldn't kill myself over it. But you will be going to jail because you're an accomplice. You killed this man for no reason, basically, because your woman was doing some dumb stuff. So that's pretty much how it ends. The family is hugging. Pia is kind of looking at the woman like, and it kind of ends like that. I wish it kind of ended in a way to where you can kind of, well, no, it didn't end like that. It ended with them having a real funeral for her husband. Everybody was coming out and stuff like that. And Pia and Sophie actually ended up hugging, and walking into the church, because they finally saw the mystery behind why this was all happening. So yeah, that's pretty much how that goes, y'all. Like, Clickbait is an emotional roller coaster. Like, it's gonna have you all over the place. It's gonna have you thinking like, what the hell? No, it's this person. No, it's that person. Because for one part, I thought it was Matt. Then I thought it was Sophie. Then I thought it was the brother, which kind of partially was, because he kidnapped him, but he didn't kill him. And then I thought it was, at first, I kind of had like a little feeling that it was the son, because he was talking to this person, because you didn't know who the person was for like a minute through the video, and the way he was acting and responding to stuff, I kind of had a feeling that Ethan was behind, like, oh, he probably done set his daddy up for something, or something done, you know, something done went down where he done set his daddy up. Like, that's how I felt, honestly. But all in all, you would have never thought that it was the receptionist lady, because she seemed so sweet, like, oh, I was his friend, and she was helping throughout the whole situation. So it was just like, what? It has you like, wow. And you got people that do stuff like that in real life, which is crazy to me. Okay, so I got these lips together, and this is the complete look for this Movies and Makeovers. This is like my favorite look to do. I'm sorry, y'all. I love this makeup style. I love the shimmer, the neutral, plus a little pop of color. Is not like too much of a crazy color. Like, I do want to venture off and do like blues and like green, like all kinds of crazy styles. Like, I do want to try to get into that more. So that's the whole point of me doing these movies and makeovers, to kind of do these different looks and showcase them to you guys, and maybe you can recreate it yourself too. But yes, you guys, that's pretty much it for this one. This movie, and I keep wanting to call it a movie, but it's a limited series on Netflix called Clickbait, and it really just shows how something that you thought was just a little game to play can turn and blow up into something so big, where an innocent person, it just shows how quickly something can like change, you know? So all I can say is, I do think it gives you a lesson on like to be careful in these internet streets. Like, don't go trusting a lot of people through the internet if you never met them. Also, don't be too trustworthy with a lot of people at your job or just giving your trust to somebody to be over your information like that. Definitely check it out. But anyways, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up. I can't wait for next Friday to drop another Movies and Makeovers for you guys. Definitely hit the subscribe button if you have not subscribed to the Fab family. And yeah, like I always say, I will talk to you all in my next video. Bye.